What's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. And we just had the first ever semifinal games of the in-season tournament. They were the first games being played at the neutral site in Las Vegas, which I do want to talk about for a bit here in a moment, kind of give some of my opinions on how the tournament has gone so far. One game was really, really good. It was a classic. We see a rising superstar continue his ascent. And the other game was an absolute blowout that was over pretty much halfway through the third quarter. Kind of felt like it was going to be over quick by halftime, and in the fourth quarter, it became a 40-point game. They honestly could have turned it off on TNT, and nobody probably would have noticed. Let's talk about first the Vegas aspect of these games before we get into the breakdowns, and then eventually, of course, I'm going to talk about the championship, why I like that matchup so much, what I'm excited for, and ultimately, who I think is going to go ahead and take home the first ever NBA Cup. The neutral site thing, I'm a little bit split on. I've liked almost everything about the in-season tournament, but this is one aspect that I haven't decided how I feel quite yet. I like the idea of there being a destination, like you win these games, you go to Vegas to compete as the Final Four team. It feels very March Madness-esque, which is part of what I like so much about the NBA Cup, that different type of atmosphere, different type of feeling that you get from typical NBA playoff games, NBA regular season games in general. So I like that aspect of it, but at the same time, it led to it kind of being a dead crowd for some of the moments in these games, particularly for the first half, 3/4 of this Pacers-Bucks game. Looked like there was basically nobody in the stands. The atmosphere, the presentation was cool. They had some cool lighting. I like the court, the logo at the center. It felt like a big-time game, but just not a lot of noise out there in the crowd, especially when you compare it to how the Pacers crowd was in that Celtics game where they were losing their minds. So part of me feels like maybe in the future, rather than doing the neutral site for this semifinal game, maybe just like the championship game could be in Vegas, or they just have the higher seed host every game in the future rather than having a neutral site. I'm not really sure. I think also part of it was for some reason they scheduled this first Pacers-Bucks game at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is 2 p.m. Vegas time. So people are probably still at work. A lot of people probably weren't super invested in that game as opposed to the Lakers game, which of course has LeBron James and probably a big Lakers following over there on the West Coast. So just some thoughts about the in-season tournament. The neutral site thing has been most people's biggest gripe so far, but overall, I feel like they've done a really good job, and I want to make a full video breaking down all my thoughts and some suggestions for the tournament when it wraps up, so keep an eye out for that. But let's go ahead and get into these games. Like I said, the first game, Pacers-Bucks, was way more exciting, so we're going to start with that one. It was fantastic. It was a high-scoring game, fast-paced offense, stars showing out, everything that I was hoping it would be, and more. It was one of those games that came down to the wire, took some big shots to go ahead and put the Bucks away, because the Pacers get another win. They stay undefeated, I believe, in the in-season tournament. I don't think they've lost yet. They're moving on to the championship. The team that a lot of people figured would be a Cinderella team in this, at least compared to like the Celtics and the Bucks, you know, these juggernauts in the East. The Pacers keep this thing rolling all the way to the title game, and it's, as usual, being led by Tyrese Haliburton. Another game where he dominates, 27.7 rebounds, 15 assists, not a single turnover. I can't remember the last time he turned the ball over, 58% shooting. He's been the best part of the tournament so far. It's been one of my favorite aspects, seeing this young superstar rise and ascend before a national televised audience, because the Pacers don't get a lot of national TV games. Small markets typically don't. And so Tyrese has forced himself and his team onto this stage and forced casual NBA fans to pay attention to him. I'm seeing my Twitter timeline flooded with people that I don't usually see tweet about basketball that much, being like, whoa, this Tyrese kid is really, really good. And he is. I'm glad people are realizing he's continuing to move up people's top player lists. I've seen people call him top 5, top 10, the best guard in the world I've even seen. And with the way he's been playing so far, I'm sure the hot takes are going to continue to fly, especially if the Pacers go on to win this in-season tournament. He's been fantastic, but it wasn't just him in this game. Miles Turner deserves a huge shout out as well. 26 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks, and 50% shooting. Some fantastic interior defense, which is not a strength of this Pacers team. They don't play much defense whatsoever, but Miles Turner stepped up big on that end. He was great attacking, being aggressive against the very talented bigs in Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bobby Portis. It didn't matter who was at the rim. Miles Turner was still attacking. Didn't shoot great from 3. I believe he was 2 from 8, but he kept the guys honest out there, and having that floor stretching, rim protecting big next to Tyrese is perfect. Miles Turner continues to unlock more and more of his game, and he's quickly becoming one of the best centers in the league. Some other guys that are deserving of shoutouts include TJ McConnell. Had some great minutes off the bench as a guard, 9 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists, and 3 steals, just continuously making the hustle plays that TJ McConnell's kind of become known for. And also big shout to Aaron Nesmith. He's been one of my favorite under the radar guys for the Pacers this season, going back to last year where he was thrown went to the Pacers in the Malcolm Brogdon trade, didn't really fit in with the Celtics, was supposed to be this knockdown shooter out of college, kind of found that role in Indiana, and now he's stepping it up as a defender too. He was frustrating Dame and Giannis multiple times throughout this game. He was hustling, he was forcing guys off their spots, which is big for a guy that, again, was supposed to just be a shooter coming out of college. He's really found his niche here in Indiana. So many guys on this team step up. It really is a team effort. As much as Tyrese is the head of the snake, it takes everybody on this team, especially when you're trying to beat this Bucks squad in this high-stakes environment. They move on to the championship. They continue to be one of my favorite teams to watch this season. As for Milwaukee, they did their job offensively. Giannis had 37 points, 10 boards, and 2 assists. Another great game from him against Indiana. Dame struggled shooting from the field, just 7 of 20, but did put up 24 points and 7 assists. Chris Middleton was pretty good with 20 points, started off pretty hot in this one. Brook Lopez had 18 points to go with 4 blocks. The Stars kind of held their own, especially on that offensive end. Not a lot of help from some of the peripheral guys. And just as a whole, the defense was abysmal from this team. It continues to be a big problem. They have to be better if they want to compete for a championship. They got torched, whether it was the Pacers getting easy, wide open layups downhill, just no resistance on the perimeter and nobody down low to block a shot. The Pacers got multiple fast break buckets off a Bucks make where they just inbounded the ball and ran it right up the court and nobody was there to stop them. It's been a problem all season. They have to be better on that end, and it seems like some frustrations may be boiling over a little bit in the locker room. According to Chris Haynes, after the game, Adrian Griffin came into the locker room and began harping on the importance of winning the rebounding battle. Then Bobby Portis comes in and says it's essential for Adrian Griffin to structure the offense down the stretch of games. Adrian Griffin welcomed the criticism, acknowledged, I can do a better job being more aggressive with my play calling. Bobby Portis then said it's a two-way street, direction is needed, and then it's up to the players to execute. And at the end of the article, talked about how it's the first year for Adrian Griffin as a head coach. He's still trying to get to know the strengths of the roster, and finish it off with saying Milwaukee's in win now mode, emotions and stakes are high. It seems like there may be a little bit of chaos brewing in the locker room. I'm not saying it's a massive deal because the best teams communicate, they have these discussions, but this is now a few times where we've heard a report that the players had to go to Adrian Griffin and say, hey, this is what we need to do. This is the system we need to run. This is where we need to be better. And I do appreciate Adrian Griffin saying, yeah, I'm a first-year head coach. I'm not perfect. I'm trying to learn on the fly and figure this thing out. And I appreciate all your criticisms. But at the same time, I'd like to see him have some kind of direction. The Bucks don't really have an identity quite yet, and that's not very good for a team that wants to compete for a championship. So on one side of the bracket, you've got drama, intrigue, and a young Pacers team overcoming the odds behind a rising superstar and making it to the championship. And on the other side of the bracket, you've got the Lakers absolutely slaughtering the Pelicans by 44 points. This game was bad. It was kind of close for the first half. The Pelicans led for a few minutes here and there, but by halftime, the Lakers are up nearly 15. And in the third quarter, the Pelicans get outscored 43-17, clamped on offense, cooked on defense. It was abysmal. And by the 8-minute-ish mark in the fourth quarter, this was like a 35-40 point game. I had a friend who bet on the Lakers. They gave him his money for his bet with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's how over this game was, that the sports book was like, just take your money, this thing's done. It was a disaster from the Pelicans, but for the Lakers, this tournament has shown their potential. Before the season, I said the Lakers are going to be a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. I called them a contender, and at times they've looked the part behind great play from LeBron, Anthony Davis, and some of their role players, but at other times, they've looked like a disaster. It feels like we get 2 different Lakers teams that randomly decide to show up one night or the other. In the tournament so far, we've seen the good side of the Lakers, which maybe is a statement that, hey, in these big-time moments, like when the playoffs roll around, we'll see the best of them. I mean, last season, they entered the playoffs as a 7 seed and made it to the Western Conference Finals, so maybe they're just kind of waiting for that moment, although I would like to see more from them in the regular season, but in the tournament, they've been dominant. LeBron James had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists in just 23 minutes, mostly facing Herb Jones. If the Lakers win, he is absolutely going to go ahead and win tournament MVP. Anthony Davis had 16, 15, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Reeves had 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. A great game from him. Taurean Prince at 5 threes in the starting lineup. Just all around one of the best games the Lakers have played as a unit. I hope we see more of this, especially in the championship against the Pacers, which I think will be a very, very fun matchup. Then for the Pelicans, they just came out super flat. Nobody really played well. Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado had some good hustle moments, hit some buckets, but everybody else struggled. Brandon Ingram, 4 of 13 from the field. CJ McCollum, 4 of 14. Trey Murphy, 5 of 13. The only guy really who scored efficiently was Zion, who had 13 points on 6 of 8 shooting, but he was 1 for 6 from the line, still can't hit his free throws, and he just didn't show much aggression at all out there. Part of that, I think, was the fact that he looked gassed. Like, he was exhausted running up and down the court when he actually did run, because there were a lot of times where he was kind of just jogging. It just seems like his conditioning still isn't super right. And even in moments where it feels like he's got space to attack, he can be the dominant Zion that we've seen at times this season. Like, not that long ago, less than a week ago, I believe, he had a 30-point game on almost perfect shooting. Like, he destroyed the opponent. Why don't we see more games like that? And instead, in this one where he only takes 8 shots despite being efficient, part of it, I guess, was the fact that the Lakers were packing the paint because he just doesn't really have an outside game. He hasn't developed much beyond attacking downhill and just finishing absurdly, which is what Zion's really good at. Like, he's really good at that, but I think he needs to expand his game to other areas because it's too easy to game plan for him at the moment. He's not being aggressive. He looks tired. I just kind of expect better from Zion. If this Pelicans team wants to be the best version of themselves, they need Zion to be the superstar, the top 10, top 15 player I feel like he can be. He just hasn't gotten to that point. With all that being said, we have reached the in-season tournament finals. The Los Angeles Lakers and the Indiana Pacers. And if you ask me, this is one of the best outcomes possible. You've got the league's best offense, the best offense of all time, an unstoppable force in that Pacers offense. On the other end, you've got the immovable object, which is the Lakers' top 10 defense that has been really stout this season. AD is playing like a depoy type guy. Everybody else is locking in. They destroyed the Pelicans tonight. It's going to be a really fun battle between those two sides of the ball. It's also a battle of the new guard versus the old. The Lakers, led by LeBron James, Anthony Davis, they won a title a few years ago, and they're trying to say, hey, we're not done yet. We want to add another one to our resume. Meanwhile, for the Pacers, they're trying to announce to the world that, hey, we're here, and Tyrese Haliburton has another chance to define himself as an up-and-coming superstar, this time again on national TV, playing maybe the greatest player of all time in LeBron James, trying to win the first in-season tournament cup. It'd be a massive boost to his legacy in the early goings. Whoever wins this game between the Lakers and the Pacers, it's going to be LeBron James or Tyrese Haliburton taking home this MVP. They have been the stars of this tournament, the two best players, and I'm really curious to see how the other team tries to slow the other guy down. The Pacers don't really have a lot of answers for a guy like LeBron James. Aaron Nesmith did just play great defense throughout this game on Giannis, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got that matchup, although I don't know if anybody can stop LeBron. And how are the Lakers going to game plan for Tyrese Haliburton? His ability to get downhill, kick out the shooters, just find guys with unbelievable passing angles. How do they try and slow him down when nobody at all this entire season has found a way to do so? That's going to be the fun chess battle for these coaches. Also, I think the battle of Anthony Davis and Miles Turner is going to be really big for this game. Miles Turner is going to pull Anthony Davis out to the perimeter, opening the game up to allow the Pacers to get inside, allow Tyrese to attack downhill, kick to those shooters. How are they going to adjust? Does he just sag off of him a little bit more and allow Miles Turner to take some of those threes? Do they try and switch him to another player so he can roam a bit more? Although everybody in this Pacers team can shoot, I can't wait to see it. Also, I can't remember if I said this already or not. The pace of this game is going to be ridiculous. Both these teams are top 10 in pace. There's going to be a lot of running on both sides. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's going to come down to the wire. And I think they're going to go ahead and put on a great show. But the question is, who wins this game? I'm very torn. I've been going back and forth. I think I'm going to pick the Lakers. I really want to see the Pacers win, if I'm being honest. The story of Tyrese Haliburton, those guys, is super fun. But I think LeBron James is just a man on a mission. Again, they've been taking these tournament games really, really seriously. They want to win this thing. I think the experience shines in this moment. They go ahead and get the job done. Winning the first ever in-season tournament, adding to their collection of championships, I guess you want to call them. They already said they're not going to hang a banner for this thing, which I don't blame them. I feel like the Lakers would get clowned if they hung a banner for the in-season tournament with all the championship banners they have up there. But even still, it'd be a big accomplishment. Again, first ever in-season tournament. It's been really fun. And this Pacers team is not an easy opponent to defeat. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to go with the Lakers as my pick. Somebody commented on one of my videos that I always pick against the Lakers. So here you go. I'm picking the Lakers to go ahead and win this one. Maybe it's a cone curse or something and you're not happy about it, but that's my pick. So those are my thoughts on the semifinals, my breakdown of the finals. Cannot wait to see this game on Saturday. As you would probably guess, there will be a breakdown of the game on the Sunday following. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And of course, hit the notification bell if you want to see that video. Also comment down below your biggest takeaways. Who's been your in-season tournament MVP so far? And who do you have winning? Do you think the Pacers go ahead and get the job done, completing the Cinderella run? Or do you think the Lakers go ahead, show off their strength, proof that they can be championship contenders, and they go ahead and stop the Pacers run just a bit short? I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.